Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thanks so much for joining me here. Hope you're having a phenomenal day. Happy Monday to you. Take a quick look here again at Solana. We're going to look a little bit more into the macro here for today, kind of get a weekly summarization and also, what's going on with Bitcoin. Just kind of throwing it out there. Bitcoin is looking pretty solid here in the sense of pulling back after hitting that $70,000 mark. Still very bullish, so you got to recognize just because we're expecting somewhat of a pullback does not mean it's done continuing higher. Again, the macro looks very solid. The reason I mention that is because that does tie into Solana. Solana does need Bitcoin to do moderately well to do excellent, right? Now, again, Solana's done very well, all things considered, but it's important to recognize kind of the correlation between the two. So always like to highlight that. Before we get started though, hit the like button, comment below. Absolutely appreciate that. Thank you so much. Take a look here though, 195, we can see some liquidation there just above the price action. 185 and 180, kind of some, if you see these round numbers here, most round numbers are going to have the more, large amounts of liquidation here. It's not always the case, but a lot of times those are key levels just based on psychological support and round numbers. I don't recommend you take profits in any round numbers at all. Just above 180, 181 might be better, or 186 instead of 185. It's better to try, non-round numbers because you don't generally get filled from that. So anyways, other way you look at it here, largest amount of liquidation at this, somewhere in the range of 1 or 2 billion at about 165. And of course, that 175 has maybe about $1 billion in liquidation. So again, round numbers, 165, 175, easy to remember. Now let's quickly look at this here too. I just want to congratulate our community here. We took a nice short from ICP on Saturday, just secured some profits this morning when it dumped down to, I think what, 905, 805, it was like right there at 33% profit. So good stuff there. That was a nice one. We've been taking mostly shorts lately. Again, I love Bitcoin's up and there's a lot of profits to be taken to the upside. Most coins are bullish at this point, but a lot of these pullbacks have been fairly aggressive and Bitcoin has been kind of calling the shots here. So let's see here. What is Solana telling us here on the daily? Well, let's look at the weekly first to kind of see what's going on. Because again, we got this larger support range here. Keep in mind, I know this is a far ways away, but just to clarify, 130 to 145 is that support range. We may not see that for a while, but that is still present. We do take a look at the larger time frame moving averages. We're over the 20-day SMA. Bitcoin just closed for the second week in a row above its 20-day SMA. It's generally a favorable sign. We can look here as well. Stochastic swinging up even harder than Bitcoin. Bitcoin's about halfway up. Solana is much higher because it had a very strong week last week. So all that being said, we're over 50 on the RSI, under 70, no overextension, money flow index is high, MACD is converging here, almost converged fully on the weekly, so there's a lot of reasons why the macro for Solana is going to be going very hard, very strong to the upside here in the relative near future. So once we get a closure above this $200 mark, I think it's solid to say that the price is probably going to continue to run from there. Okay, so I'm holding my spot back for Solana. There's no reason to consider selling. Take a look at the daily though. Let's double check a couple of things here. We're above all moving averages, keep in mind, but this 20-day SMA is getting closer, if you will. It's not quite there yet, but it's at the 165 range. So it just implies this most recent high is somewhat of a support level if the price ends up pulling back to that 160s. 165, 167, somewhere in there. We did see a perfect entry at 178, if I'm not mistaken, 177 over the weekend. So congrats to our community members who got in at that level, took some nice profits to the upside. I held off on that trade. Honestly, hindsight, I wish I'd taken the trade, but I don't really love stacking weekend trades personally. That's just me. We already took an ICP short, didn't make a ton of sense at the time to take a long. So just some heads up on that. There's some key levels which we'll identify here on the 4-hour time frame, which we're getting close to, okay? And again, we're starting to print a gravestone doji candle here so far on the daily. If that does end up closing like that, we could see further downside. Take a look here as well. Can quickly confirm here we are right in that sweet spot on the daily time frame. There's nothing here that's looking bearish. While we are stochastically kind of swinging to the downside, MACD hasn't fully diverged yet, so I really think that we're probably still going to be able to maintain this range in the 180 or higher. The 4-hour time frame will tell us a little bit better what's going on there. So again, we talked about this last week, but we had this cup and handle breakout. Price comes up, works itself into a wedge, continued higher. We missed our opportunity here at 178 by like just a few cents, but we did get a nice wick down on Saturday, of course, right in that range there. So again, congrats to those who bought that golden pocket, essentially. That's exactly how that's supposed to work out. Let's go and update our fibs here, as a matter of fact, and kind of see how much further down this could go if it does. Just to give us perspective, we also want to go ahead and draw a trend line out here. Just as a hypothetical, this is not official just yet, but it is running concurrent with the 20-day SMA. Generally, that's how trend lines are designed to work. So if we look here, of course, at this point here, let's double check the areas here. First of all, I want to look, we are over 50 on the RSI. This is great. Stochastic is swinging down pretty hard, but this is very common when Bitcoin pulls back the way that it did. I mean, we went from 70 to 67.5K in just a matter of hours, right? When that happens, you're going to see something along those lines here as well, okay? But we are still tentatively honoring this ascending trend line. Until we break down below, we can presume the price will continue to maintain this range. Now, if it does break down below, you can expect, in most cases, a bearish backtest to the more recent high, or just essentially a more recent fib level, depending on how low the price action goes. It's too early to kind of think of what that hypothetically would look like, but MACD is starting to diverge. I think we're starting to see the shift in momentum. But bear in mind too, we're still honoring our most recent high. If you see this here, I'll go ahead and highlight this in a better color so you can kind of see it. When you have a recent high like this, which is very, very synonymous in a lot of ways with the previous high, 185, let's just say 186 is a round number. It tried 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the 10th attempt broke through that level. And now look at this, it's now testing it as a support. So we're more likely to see the price pivot and bounce from here and continue higher because of that reason. However, Bitcoin pulls back even further, which I'm kind of expecting a rejection of 68.5. Then there's a solid chance we're going to see Solana pull back too. If Solana does pull back, here are the levels to kind of focus on and pay attention to. Again, I'll post this on our Twitter, Telegram, Discord, YouTube, and TikTok. It's all available there for you. But the key takeaway here, I would say, is the more recent point of control. If we zoom out a little bit and understand, ever since we've been in this range of 165 to 195, we've seen the most amount of volume at this lower level, 173, 174. It's been a common support range for us, or resistance when we were below it. So I think that's a worst case scenario. Honestly, 0.5 or 0.618 would be the more sensible ones here. 180 is a round number, and then 177, I'm rounding up a little too there. The 0.618, 0.5 fib levels, those would be the next areas of retracement where we may see a bounce. The reason why that's logical is because we do see a decent amount of volume in that range. If we come closer to that level, we'll be able to fill that gap, so to speak, and get the price action to respond positively. Let's take a look here at the hourly and just kind of see where we're at on the cloud. Because generally this is something I like to look for when I take a trade for confirmation. Because again, Bitcoin kind of is breaking below the cloud itself right now. But if we look here at the lagging span, it's free and clear. Conversion line's over the baseline, and we're still over the cloud here. So again, a lot of reasons why we have a ton of support, and there's no reason to consider a short just yet. Okay. Once we break bearish, if we were to, again, that's a tentatively short-term bearish trend line, then that would be a case in point where we might want to consider it. But the overall sentiment here, the macro, is looking very strong for both Bitcoin and Solana. There's no reason to try to necessarily short into that if your profit targets are too lofty. You're going to have if you're going to take a short, just ensure that your short trade is realistic and you don't get too greedy with it. Take profits every key fib level here. Again, maybe 184 for starters, 180, and then 177, right? Those are just some examples, but again, I'll post that on our playout chart here. And future reference too, if you're part of my Discord here, I do have a trade alerts section where I provide specific details, weekly analysis, some macro, but more so just daily, where I kind of explain what's going on. Like this, for example, with ICP on Saturday, explained why we have specific areas of liquidation and that those areas had been swept. We just saw that happen this morning, as a matter of fact. Exactly why we opened a short. Again, those are all reasons that I like to provide to my community. So check that out. Make sure you enable all channels too. Discord is weird when I add new channels. You have to right click on browse channels and show all. That way you can see everything there. So just heads up on that. All right, folks, I appreciate your watching and liking the video. We'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.